I want to share with you guys this paperwork that I got from my therapist. It kind of knocked me off kilter. It says, "What is not my responsibility? It is not my responsibility to solve someone else's problems unless appropriate in the case of a crisis or illness. It is not my responsibility to anticipate others' needs and desires. It is not my responsibility to always be on someone's good side. It is not my responsibility to be 100% perfect to myself or others. It is not my responsibility to please unpleasant people. It is not my responsibility to apologize for being me. It is not my responsibility to feel guilty about what I want and desire. It is not my responsibility to remain in an abusive relationship. It is not my responsibility to do more than I can do. It is not my responsibility to conform to unreasonable demands. It is not my responsibility to give to others when I am emotionally depleted. It is not my responsibility to feel responsible for another person's misbehavior or inappropriateness. It is not my responsibility to relinquish my integrity and who I am for anyone or anything." On today's episode of To the Last Drop, we're dropping the baggage of undue responsibilities like it's hot, because ain't nobody got time for that in sobriety. When she gave me this list, I said, "What do you see? What is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Why did you give me this list?" And she was adamant that I needed to post it and to get in line with what is my responsibility. When I received this, I was more shocked that some of these things I didn't have to do. For example, it is not my responsibility to solve someone else's problems. As someone with siblings, people come to me with their problems and I give them an answer. That's not my responsibility. Now we delve deeper. Why is it not my responsibility? How am I helping them on their journey by giving them the answer? Does that not make the situation repeat itself, thus becoming residual? Now I must continue to solve your problems, which are only going to get worse because you didn't learn the first time. That's reminiscent of when people have a kid and they say, "Oh, this kid is so easy. You're going to have another one right after." It's because you didn't learn your lesson the first time, because someone helped you. You had help. Everything was too easy. So it makes it easier to do the process all over again. It is not my responsibility to feel responsible for another person's misbehavior or inappropriateness. I think that connects to an issue with control. To believe that the way that someone who's with me interacts or responds or acts in the world has anything to do with me. It doesn't. And they should be free to be who they are. At the end of the day, who I am and who you are, they don't have to be the same. That's what makes life so great, right? They don't have to be the same. So why should I have any say or control or responsibility in how you choose to carry yourself? Please have at it. And again, it's another example of a saving behavior. Me saying, "No, don't do that. Don't act like that. Like, act like this instead. It'll work better for you." Well, I'm saving you, because when I'm not there, you're going to act however you act, because that's your thing. And until you realize that it doesn't work for you, and it might, but until you realize that it may not work for you, you're going to continue the behavior. And lastly, the one that hurt a lot was, it is not my responsibility to anticipate others' needs and desires. I always find myself thinking, what's the next step? What can I do to make this better? What can I do so they'll have more fun, so it'll be more exciting, so they'll want to come back? I am not supposed to anticipate your desires, what you want to do. The only thing that should be important to me is what I want to do and what God wants me to do, right? But again, that has nothing to do with you. So I need to take responsibility for myself and what I want to see in the world, thus bringing it about. Setting healthy boundaries is an essential life skill and an important self-care practice. Healthy boundaries create healthy relationships. While someone who's not used to setting boundaries might feel guilty or selfish when they first start setting them, it's necessary for their mental health and well-being. Guess what? No is a complete sentence. It's a full answer. No does not need elaboration. However, just remember, once you begin to exercise your no's, you must be okay when others exercise them with you. In the article, Why Personal Boundaries Are Important and How to Set Them by Leah Campbell, posted in 2023, the author states, personal boundaries are simply the lines we draw for ourselves in terms of our level of comfort around others. These boundaries typically fall into a few specific categories. Emotional, protecting our own emotional well-being. Physical, protecting our physical space. Sexual, protecting our needs and safety sexually. Workplace, protecting our ability to do our own work without interference or drama. Material, protecting our personal belongings. Time, protecting the use and misuse of our time. Boundaries can also exist in a variety of situations, including at work, at home, when visiting family, when out with friends. Really, at any time you're talking about engaging with others, you've likely got personal boundaries that surround that situation. And finally, personal boundaries don't have to be communicated for them to exist. We all have our lines of discomfort. They're there whether you tell them about them or not. Still, personal boundaries are more likely to be violated when we don't communicate them. That's where the problems occur. So this summer, I got a new group of friends, and I call them my artsy-fartsy friends. And they wanted to go camping, right? And during this camping retreat that we did for like 4 days, they wanted to do yoga on one day. Now, there is a version of me that totally would have did yoga with them. However, in my religious seeking and the research that I've done, I no longer believe that yoga is a safe practice to participate in. It's just what I believe. Until I have more research that goes the other way, I'm sticking to what I read myself. It doesn't go with what I believe. So, and neither does Sage. I just wanted to throw that in there. So on this particular day, they wanted to do yoga by the lake. It was a beautiful scene. Everything went so great. It was a fantastic trip. They wanted to do yoga by the lake. Everyone got ready and they're like, Dom, are you going to do it? And I did bring my yoga mat because I wanted to appease. Initially, I was like, yeah, like I'm totally going to do it. Just do it, Dom. Don't worry about it. But when I had spoken to my therapist, she was like, but Dom, if that's not what you want to do, why are you putting yourself in that situation? I'm like, well, it'll appease everybody. It'll just make, it's easier to go along than to have to explain like, oh, I love Jesus and I don't think he wants me to do that. Then you look weird. That's what we believe. So when it got time to do it, they told me, Dom, go get your yoga mat. Like, come on, let's go. And I was like, I don't think I really want to do yoga. I'm just going to work on this book instead. And they all had their yoga mats out and I had my little chair and I was there with my prayer book and I wrote down my prayers that day. And I remember hearing just stand firm, stay just like this, do what we're supposed to be doing. And I sat and I did my prayer book. To their credit, they definitely show signs of emotional intelligence. They didn't ask me why. They said, okay, and went on about their business. They did all of their stretches. They got their footage. They did their thing. And they allowed me to be there too, doing my thing. There was no push of, oh, this is what you have to do. Oh, why don't you do that? What do you mean religion? It wasn't like that. It was, okay, literally. And then we went and did it together. And I felt really proud of myself for putting that boundary down and following through, even though it was uncomfortable. And then at the same time, it made me more comfortable with my new friends that they didn't question it. They didn't care in that way. It wasn't a judgy thing. They didn't even ask me about the book that I was writing in. They went about their business. I think the fear of judgment crept in because I was judging myself. Oh, they're going to think this is weird. No, Dom, you are not comfortable enough to just stand in your truth. This is what you believe. Yes, you did the research. Like, that doesn't make you weird or nerdy that you care about something. So you do the research and you should just stand on that. And then there's the childhood aspect of, well, okay, I got a story, just a little bit. When we were kids, it was my sister and I, we're like 2.5 years apart. When I learned the word compromise, it was defined as when we had to decide what movies to watch at night. We shared a room most of our lives. When we had to decide which movies to watch, we would typically take turns and go back and forth. But as the older sister, sometimes I would have to let her watch what she wanted to watch so that she wouldn't throw a fit all night. So my mother taught me that that's what compromise was. Letting her have her way so that she doesn't cause a ruckus all night and throw a tantrum and get upset, for my mother to have to deal with more things rather than getting ready to lay down and go to bed because she had work in the morning. As an adult, I understand that's not compromise. That's appeasing someone. At the end of the day, your turn is your turn, my turn is my turn. It's that simple. It's not, oh, well, you insist and you're going to get really mad if I don't listen to what you have to say and do what you want me to do. So as an adult, I understand that. That's not what compromise means. Compromise is a big, beautiful word for Elmo, but the definition I got was incorrect. So again, the way that I learned the word compromise moved with me into life. And in that behavior as well, where my needs don't matter because you're going to get upset and now I have to do what you want me to do, I take that with me into adulthood. And where do I take it? Into my relationships, especially my romantic ones. So now whatever he wants to do is what we doing. And typically, a lot of times that was sexual. If they were ready to go there and I wasn't, it was, oh, well, that's compromise. You don't want them to get upset. You don't want them to leave, back to daddy issues. You don't want them to leave. So you have to appease. Okay, well, I could just do it, you know. He did do this and that. Like, yeah, I probably should. And now you're in a situation. And typically, ladies, I'm just going to be honest, and I've seen it. I've done it enough times to know. You give it up and then they go. So it doesn't help you. So compromise, I was compromising in areas where I should have stood firm. It's not my responsibility to give you anything to appease you or make you feel any sort of way. Your happiness is dependent upon you, not me and my cookies. And the ability to say no is you exercising your confidence in yourself. So your ability to stand firm in your beliefs builds confidence in yourself, and you can build that trust with yourself that this is what I want and this is the way it's going to be, period. Because there is no debating it. What you want is yours. Ask and you shall receive. Ask, seek, knock, right? So on this trip, I learned that this was an area my confidence may have been lacking a little bit, that I felt like, well, they're not gonna, I felt like, well, you know, it's good enough that they don't drink. It's good enough that they invited me and they don't really know me like that. It's good enough that they want to go camping. Like, I should meet them halfway. I should compromise and meet them halfway and do this yoga. I should compromise and just, you know, not talk about how I don't like the sage for reasons that research does back up, right? And when I finally said, no, I'm going to stand on this boundary, it was a huge confidence booster in my trust with myself. That, Dom, you didn't do something you didn't want to do because you don't want to do it. And listen, the because is unnecessary. Again, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Nobody, especially not as a self-sufficient adult with their own things. Who are you explaining yourself to? The only person you need to be explaining yourself to is God. And he already know, but you should tell him anyway, right? That's called repentance. The way that I would navigate in childhood to remain safe and to silence my wants and needs to appease others. This trip taught me that I don't have to do that anymore. All these years later, I don't have to do that anymore. And it's a matter of taking one step at a time, slowly just asserting my boundaries in little ways, and this will build more confidence in myself, which is the goal. I want to be confident in my decisions. I want to be confident in myself and my space and the way that I choose to navigate through life. You don't have to agree with it, right? And you don't have to appease me because I choose to live this way. But in order for me to live my best life by definition, I have to be confident. I have to be able to say, no, that's not really for me. And it makes me want to create more boundaries as time goes on. What I read about boundaries, when I was doing the research about boundaries, I thought it was awesome that they're pretty much safe strategies that you use to protect yourself. Why? Because when we go through traumatic situations, we build trauma responses that do what? They protect us. A boundary is doing the same thing, but in a respectful way to all parties involved. I don't have to curse you out and storm off so that I can achieve happiness. And a lot of times when you get yourself all riled up, cursing people off and storming away, you no longer have joy. You like lose it. After you do that, you're expending this energy and it's just negative. So now you're affected. When me saying no is relatively painless. You know who hurts the most when I say no? A lot of times it's my inner child. That's like, no, that's not how we were taught. That's not what you're supposed to do. What do you mean? Oh, make sure you explain yourself. Make sure you explain yourself and say that you're sorry. But like, yo, I'm not sorry. I'm living my best life. And I said no, because that's not what I want to do. It's not where I want to put my time on this earth. It's not where I want to put my energy, my money, me, right? So I would encourage you to attempt to set those boundaries and have those hard conversations and practice your no's, even if you practice them in the mirror. Practice not explaining yourself. No is a full sentence. You do not have to explain why that doesn't work for you or why you don't want to do it at this moment. Your time is valuable. It's currency. You will never get it back. So stop wasting time saying yes to things that you don't want to do, stressing about other people's issues, running yourself all the way down to fix other people's situations or to assist them. Stop wasting your time that way. It is currency. It's more valuable than money. Some people's time gets cut off way too soon. They wish they had that currency. So with that, I have a song that I want to share with you guys. Now, I heard this song in like a Target while I was shopping one day. It came on over the radio. I know the song, but I didn't hear it until that particular day I was shopping. And I just want to read you the verse. The song is called Catch My Breath by Kelly Clarkson. So the song goes, I don't want to be left behind. Distance was a friend of mine, catching my breath in a web of lies. I've spent most of my life riding waves, playing acrobat, shadowboxing the other half, learning how to react. I've spent most of my time catching my breath, letting it go, turning my cheek for the sake of the show. Now that you know this is my life, I won't be told what's supposed to be right. Catch my breath. No one can hold me back. I ain't got time for that. Catch my breath. Won't let them get me down. It's all so simple now. Addicted to the love I found, heavy heart, now a weightless cloud. Making time for the ones that count. I'll spend the rest of my time laughing hard with the windows down, leaving footprints all over town. Keeping faith, karma comes around. I will spend the rest of my life catching my breath, letting it go. So to me, those two verses exemplify being uncomfortable for the sake of everything around you. Having to say yes to things you don't want to do, having to smile when everything is wrong, when you don't have the energy to keep going, but you have to because, oh, somebody is counting on you. Yeah, but you're counting on you too. She says, learning how to react. Learning how to react. That's not your responsibility. You should try to be respectful, but learning how to react. So learning how to, again, appease someone else, how to compromise, right? How to make sure that they don't start losing their ish. So I'm going to say what makes you comfortable so that we can move forward and have a nice day. That's not your job. And really, you doing all that work to make them comfortable. Are you comfortable to even have to think that much in interaction? To have to think, oh, well, if I say this, they're going to react like this. If I do this, they're not going to like that. That doesn't sound a little abusive to you? Why are you subjecting yourself to that? Then that goes back to confidence. Do you believe that you deserve interactions that don't make you feel that way? Do you believe that how you're being treated in this moment is what you really deserve? You should definitely explore that. And the first step to doing so is to lay a little boundaries down, just a little sprinkle of boundaries, and see how it makes you feel afterwards. And if you're in the right space with people that genuinely care about you, then typically it should go how it went during camping. Okay. You let them live their life as they wish, and you do with your time as you wish. I'd like to dedicate this episode to Nanny Counts and great-granddad Raymond James. Now, I never got to meet my great-grandfather. However, my great-grandmother and I spent a good amount of time together. She had a beautiful singing voice from what I hear, and she used to sit me on her lap and make up songs. And to this day, I do the same thing. They were married for over 40 years, and my great-grandfather, Raymond James, came up to New Jersey from Newberry, South Carolina. And when I was doing this research, because I never got to meet him, when I was doing this research with my grandmother, she mentioned that he got in a fight with a white man in the Jim Crow South and had to dress as a girl to make his way up to New Jersey. This resonated with me because in order to get in a fight with a white man in the Jim Crow South, right, he must have crossed some sort of boundary that made my great-grandfather put his foot down. Look at how life comes full circle and what I've spoken to you about today. The reason that I am here in New Jersey, alive and living, is because he said, no, that is enough. I will not appease you. And even at a time when that was really dangerous to do, clearly he did it and he succeeded. And now you got Dominé Spinelli. So I am so grateful for his sacrifice. And it shows you how important boundaries are, because who would have thought that him saying no and changing the course of his entire life would have led to you watching me right here, right now, right? Right. So you should probably thank him too. Thank you, great-granddad. Thank you. Let's hear your not my circus, not my monkeys moments. Share your stories of dropping undue responsibilities using the hashtag not my circus. And let's lighten that load together. Now remember, the portal to every next level is through the parts of yourself that you avoid. So please attempt to lay a boundary this week. I thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Dominé Spinelli. This has been another episode of To The Last Drop. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you know when I post again. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye.